Welcome to 340B 360, a new monthly podcast from 340B Report. I'm Anna Mangum, host of this new program, which showcases 340B Report's valued sponsors and the crucial role they play in the 340B ecosystem. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing to 340B Report by going to 340breport.com and using the coupon code podcast25 to receive a 25% discount. If you did not hear prior episodes, here's a little bit about me. I've dedicated my career to promoting healthcare access, quality, and equity. I've been a senior leader with a variety of major national advocacy and trade organizations, including 340B Health, where I worked closely with 340B Report publisher and CEO Ted Slavsky for over a decade. In this exciting new episode, I chat with Tim Neylan, Chief Operating Officer of RxParadigm. RxParadigm is a pharmacy technology solutions company developing what many in the 340B community believe could be a game changer in resolving one of the most hotly debated challenges in the 340B program. Drug manufacturers cite the potential of duplicate discounts, a situation where a drug company provides an upfront discount to a 340B covered entity and then provides a rebate on the same drug to the Medicaid program or a PBM on the back end, to be one of its biggest concerns with the 340B program. While 340B providers argue that identifying potential duplicate discounts in the Medicaid space is a matter of concern and safeguards should be in place to prevent those, drug manufacturers cite the same concern in the commercial market. RxParadigm is developing what it describes as the first neutral 340B claims clearinghouse. Unlike the current vendors that currently run clearinghouses on behalf of drug manufacturers, 340B covered entity advocates argue that there needs to be a clearinghouse that is not funded and overseen by the drug industry and drug industry consultants. RxParadigm is building this platform, and we're excited to learn more about it today. We're very grateful to RxParadigm for being an Ultra Diamond sponsor of 340B Report, the highest level of sponsorship. We appreciate their investment in 340B Report, which allows us to educate our subscribers and listeners on 340B developments. Today, we'll catch up with Tim, learn more about him, and gain insights about RxParadigm. We look forward to learning more about Tim's career and to learning more about their CEO, Mesfin Tigenu, and his fascinating life story. We're also excited to learn about the solutions RxParadigm provides and the areas that 340B covered entities and other 340B stakeholders should be thinking about moving forward. Welcome, and thanks for being with us today, Tim.
Thank you, Anna. Good to be here. Excited to talk to you today.
Well, can you tell us, we'll just start out with, can you tell us a little bit about your life before 340B, including where you grew up, where you went to college, what you majored in?
So I'm a Jersey boy from Trenton, New Jersey, originally. I guess growing up, I was a big sports guy. So I played every sport you can imagine: baseball, basketball, soccer, football, so all year round. Actually, with baseball, probably my best sport, I held the record for most hits in a season for my high school.
Amazing.
Unfortunately, it was broken the year after, so that's life, you know. But I went to University of Delaware for college, minored in operations management and management information systems. And now I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania with my wife and 2 daughters.
Terrific. Well, before joining the team at RxParadigm, you started your career in tech, including but not limited to a stint at a drug company. What were some of the key areas of focus for you?
So I started my career as a software developer. So I was in tech, and I worked with and for pharmaceutical manufacturers to help them automate the manufacturing plants that make the drugs. So all the valves and vats, we would basically, software would control those to add ingredients, heat, cool, mix, monitor. So I was really focused on that part of the pharmaceutical world with pharma. Last 15 years, before joining RxParadigm, I was in the IT services industry in various leadership roles. My focus was on software and hardware asset management, which when I came to 340B, I saw a lot of parallels. It's kind of a different items you're tracking and managing, but the concepts are very similar. And what I would say is that before joining RxParadigm, what those previous jobs gave me was, it took me around the world. So it gave me life and work experiences and skills that I use today in my current job. And I'm very grateful and thankful.
Terrific. Well, let's ask then, what's it been like to work now in the 340B space, shift for you? What do you think is distinctive about it?
Yeah, I would say coming from the IT world, you don't always get to see or hear how an organization is impacting the world. You're kind of a step removed, right, in the IT department.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would say in the 340B space, in my experience with 340B, is that I'm talking and working with people like every week. And I hear directly how 340B is helping to improve and make a big impact on people's and patients' lives. So as a result, most people I talk to in 340B, it's not just a job, it's a passion. And that energizes me. And it also energizes the company I work for, RxParadigm, to do our part to kind of make 340B successful and, as importantly, sustainable.
Speaking of passion, mission, Mesfin Tegenu, RxParadigm's CEO and chairman, founded RxParadigm in 2021 to create competition among pharmacy benefit management companies, PBMs, with the ultimate aim of reducing drug costs and improving health outcomes. Before launching the firm, he worked for many years in 340B. Can you tell us more about Mesfin, his interesting background, and kind of how this led to the creation of RxParadigm?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the word passion is a good word that you use for Mesfin. He's one of the most passionate guys. Whatever topic he's going after, he's very, very passionate about it. Yeah, like you said, Mesfin started RxParadigm in 2021 with the vision to streamline and bring transparency to the drug supply chain process. Prior to RxParadigm, he founded another company, which you also called out, simplified the pharmacy benefit administration business. And that had a focus primarily with government-funded nonprofit managed care organizations. So what he's always said, and I've seen it, that gave him a complete view of this drug supply chain and kind of understanding where the opaque areas are and where bringing transparency would add tremendous value. And I think 340B is a big space for that. And I think we'll talk about it a bit later, but Clearinghouse came out as a direct result of that work.
Exactly. So your firm is a leader in providing what your firm describes as a neutral 340B clearinghouse solution. And importantly, you view it not just as a product, but a movement, really. Tell us more about this concept of a clearinghouse, how it works, and how you get various stakeholders on board.
We do see it as a movement. You're 100% correct. So I think when we entered the 340B space, we started looking at, hey, what are the reasons why drug manufacturers were initiating these contract pharmacy restrictions? And we quickly learned that it's a complex thing. It's not just one thing. It's many complex drivers. However, one of the major driving forces behind the restrictions was the issue with duplicate discounts. So when a manufacturer receives a rebate request from a state Medicaid agency or from a commercial PBM, oftentimes there were 340B dispensed claims in those rebate claims. So, and manufacturers had a hard time differentiating the ones they should pay, that were eligible, and which ones they shouldn't pay because they were duplicate discounts or double payments. And the current solutions that were employed, like 340B claims modifiers, were suboptimal or have been suboptimal so far. So after studying that and determining what we need to create to kind of keep the program more sustainable, we created this neutral 340B clearinghouse. And what it does is it allows all parties to provide claim information without compromising sensitive data that CEs don't want to share with manufacturers and manufacturers don't want to share with CEs and other entities. So it allows a safe place for claims to be shared around 340B and for drug manufacturers to be able to validate if there's a 340B duplicate discount or double payment that they should not.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, we'll talk about it hopefully a little bit later as well, or I'll touch on it, is that an extension of our clearinghouse is with the emerging challenge of MFP, is creating a new kind of issue with 340B. So not just 340B and rebate duplication, but now MFP price and 340B overlap is also something that we're heavily involved in right now.
Which is maximum fair price, right?
Medicare maximum fair price. Yeah, thank you for the clarification.
Sure. So neutrality is a key feature for this to succeed. Just pointing that out. Your firm has partnered with federally qualified health centers, or FQHCs, and state-level primary care associations who are implementing the Tungsten Plus platform. So congratulations on that. Can you tell us more about these partnerships and what's on the horizon?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the shout out. You're right. We've made a lot of headway with FQs, federally qualified health centers, and also with PCAs, which are primary care associations, which are at the state level. So a lot of progress with them. But I'll also add, Anna, that we've also signed up several hospitals. And I would encourage people or listeners to check our LinkedIn page where we'll kind of see all the press releases that are coming out that announce these partnerships with CEs, primary care associations, hospital associations, and hospitals. And I would also add that with Medicare's maximum fair price going into effectuation in 6 months, we're also having a lot of activity with major pharmacies that are directly impacted by the MFP situation, which I think we'll talk about a little bit later on as well.
Yes, yes. Well, to kind of review what you've discussed so far about the clearinghouse, what makes it different from some of the others that are currently in place? Why do you think you are able to get buy-in from all the different parties?
I would say there is probably three key differentiators in our mind, and you called out one of them maybe 2 questions ago, which was neutrality. So we lead with neutrality, which is probably different than some of the available solutions today. So we're not a manufacturer-driven platform, but by the same token, we're not a CE or pharmacy-driven platform. We're a safe space where both parties can go to safely collaborate and to solve problems like double payments, duplicate discounts, and then easing some of the disruptions that have been occurring the last few years. Second thing I'll mention is, I kind of touched upon it before, but we don't share data with manufacturers. So all we give manufacturers is the ability to validate that if they get a rebate claim from a Medicaid state or from a commercial PBM, they can check if there's a 340B dispense on that rebate claim already. And if so, they don't pay that rebate to the state or don't pay that rebate to the PBM. End of story. So we don't share any sensitive data that CEs would give us as part of this clearinghouse platform. To add on to that, the third value prop is we have the highest level of security. So we are high trust certified. That's the highest healthcare certification for security in the industry. So all parties can trust us and feel comfortable that exchanging information in the clearinghouse, sensitive data won't be shared. And then once it's in our clearinghouse, it's secure and protected.
Well, security is so very important, as you point out, in healthcare, including in this area. So that's a really important part of your value proposition for sure. Let's talk a little bit about the restrictions by some 40 drug manufacturers on contract pharmacy. These have had a major impact on providers and their patients. What are you seeing in terms of those impacts?
So our goals are aligned to focus on the areas that minimize disruption and maximize stability in the 340B program. Contract pharmacy restrictions, it's a big disruptor. So by tackling subjects such as duplicate discount, double dipping, and now the emerging MFP, maximum fair price issue, we're helping drug manufacturers avoid additional costs that they shouldn't be bearing, right? So double payments and duplicate payments are a big issue for them and unnecessary costs to their 340B program. So when we talk to these manufacturers, what we tell them is that we feel very strongly that contract pharmacy restrictions have an eventual shelf life. I think there's 20 states that might be larger now. Every week there's a new state that has a contract pharmacy protection law. So apologies if I have the wrong number. It might be 21, 22. So those restrictions have a shelf life. There's more and more states enacting those laws, and we're giving manufacturers a third way to solve the problem of closing the book on double dipping and duplicate discounts and phasing out those current strategies that are out there.
Thank you for that. Another challenge right now for the 340B provider community is a potential shift of 340B from an upfront discount program to a rebate model. What are your thoughts about this possible shift, which will likely have ramifications for providers and ultimately for patients?
So we are neutral. I use that word a lot, and we take it very seriously. So there's a lot of active litigation, as everyone knows, around the rebate space. So we remain agnostic until that's worked through. But like I said, our goals are to minimize disruption and maximize stability on the program. So what we strongly believe is that the 340B Clearinghouse fulfills the spirit of what drug manufacturers want, right? Which is some level of neutral check, someone in the middle doing some kind of work. So in that respect, we think that the Clearinghouse can help each stakeholder accomplish their goals, including manufacturers, but without fundamentally altering the program as it is today. So that's our view. Now, if a rebate model or some hybrid model were to come to pass, I guess big if, we'll see what happens. We do believe that a clearinghouse is still needed, right? Because in that model, there'll be thousands of CEs and their TPAs sharing data with multiple manufacturer tools, sensitive claims information, the complexity and data security and privacy issues are very challenging in that world. So having a clearinghouse has a lot of value there. Last thing I'll add is that we're also innovating and working with some forward-thinking wholesalers. So if the rebate model were to come to pass, again, we're not in favor of disruptive models, that in that model where the burden of purchasing is on the C to purchase at whack, we can help minimize that with some good options so that CEs that are threatened with financial viability in that model have good options to maintain their use of the 340B program and also maintain financial viability.
Well, that's robust. Lots of moving parts to that answer. You've mentioned Medicare maximum fair price or MFP a couple of times. So we want to talk about that. That will be in effect on selected drugs starting on January 1st of 2026, with more drugs in scope in subsequent years. The MFP has an intersection with the 340B program, as you know. How can your firm help with this emerging challenge?
So you're right. January 1st, 2026 is the first effectuation, which is, I guess, less than 6 months away, not too far away. So what we're finding is when we're working with CEs and pharmacies and drug manufacturers, that many of them are still trying to figure it out. What does MFP mean for them? What do they need to put in place to kind of effectuate and solve those challenges? So what we've done in the clearinghouse is extend it to support this. So for CEs and pharmacies, we've developed a solution in the clearinghouse that helps them, A, identify those MFP claims, B, identify those claims that overlap with 340B, and then C, which is the most important part, help them determine which discount is most applicable. But then conversely, on the manufacturer side, manufacturers need a solution so that they can pay the pharmacies correctly. So we don't want to hit a situation where a manufacturer incorrectly denies a reimbursement, an MFP reimbursement, where they believe a claim might also be 340B, but it's actually not. So we're helping manufacturers with our solution to basically pay the pharmacies on time and correctly. So we limit the disruptions to reimbursement for pharmacies and CEs.
Limiting disruptions is obviously very important in any industry. And obviously, you've talked about that a bit. Have you all reached out to folks at the Health Resources and Services Administration and or the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services to offer your platform and your services?
Yeah, we sure have. Yeah, numerous times we've met with them. So as many of your listeners may know, CMS has expressed interest or exploring a 340B claims repository for use cases such as the inflationary rebate calculation. So we've had meetings with them on that topic, plus MFP, plus duplicate discounts. So we are going to remain engaged with them and are excited to remain engaged with them as they work through it and how we can help them work through it.
Terrific. What should 340B providers be getting prepared for down the road?
So I guess expanding upon what I just said, with CMS kind of exploring the use of a 340B claims repository, for those that are kind of plugged into the federal 340B legislation that's kind of out there, we all call for clearinghouses or repositories for 340B. So our position is that sharing data in a clearinghouse is an eventual reality, no matter who does it, right? And the CEs that we're working with are signing up because they believe that a neutral party solution is preferable versus other solutions in the market or solutions that might be imposed upon them. So we think that CEs getting on board now and preparing for a clearinghouse and drug manufacturers, same thing, would allow them to kind of shape it before something is imposed upon them in the future.
Yeah, acting proactively. Yeah, makes total sense given the various dynamics here. Do you have any final words of advice or thoughts for the 340B community?
Although there's natural friction, right, with different stakeholders in the market, there are ways to collaborate with drug manufacturers and other organizations, right? It's not a zero-sum game, but there needs to be structured, organized ways to collaborate. And being able and willing to demonstrate a willingness to engage in a collaborative platform as an alternative, a viable alternative to some of the more punitive solutions is something that I think the 340B community should get on board with. So that's what I would encourage people to do.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much again, Tim, for joining us today. We really, really enjoyed having you and hearing more about the Clearinghouse and about you. So stay tuned for our next podcast, and that will be next month.
Thank you, Anna. Pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to having you join us for our next podcast. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing to 340B Report by going to 340breport.com and using the coupon code podcast25 to receive a 25% discount. It's the best way to stay on top of the latest developments in the ever-changing 340B program. Also, check out our other podcast, Inside 340B Report, to hear our journalists discuss the latest 340B developments.